Hey there, Dr. Ashley Mack here, owner of Ashley Mack Performance and Rehab and howsoever Fitness. Today I'm going to talk to you about another power technique, which is going to be the kettlebell swing, which is actually a very useful tool that you'll use when it comes to implementing in sports programs, fitness programs, and even just overall wellness programs as well. Remember, power is actually going to be forced with applied speed. So when you're moving an object with speed, you're actually expressing some power. So the kettlebell swing is actually going to be an extension of what the normal pattern is called the hip hinge. And when you're coming onto a hip hinge, your biggest focus is actually a lot of movement at the hip and maybe a little movement at the knee. So this is the hinge itself, this is the end position, this is another end position. As you can see, I'm standing upright. Very comparable to, say, when you're deadlifting or even when you're picking something up from the floor. So being able to do something like the kettlebell swing will allow you to actually recruit those hamstrings and glutes a little bit more explosively, so in that way you're moving something a little bit faster, allowing you to move faster if you're focusing on a specific speed goal, but then also increasing the intensity of a workout if you're working on some sort of health and fitness goal as well. So I'm going to show you what it looks like from the side, and I'll show you what it looks like from the front. When it comes to setting up, the biggest thing is making sure that you're bending those knees, you're pushing your butt back as far as you can. You're already set up into a kettlebell swing position. You're gonna hike that kettlebell through your legs. You're gonna squeeze your cheeks as tight as you can. As you can see, since I'm squeezing my butt, that kettlebell ends up kind of flying up to the level of my eyes and my shoulders. And that is done through the action of the aggressive contraction of my glutes and my hamstrings. If you look at me from the front, you get another angle. You'll also see that those hands are really close to my hips, allowing me to express my power through the kettlebell itself. Now, there are a couple of movement faults that you'll often see in kettlebell swings. One big movement fault is that people will just lose the position of their back, and then they try to use their back to kind of get that kettlebell moving. And it might feel okay for a little bit, it'll feel awkward, but that actually will put someone at risk of kind of tweaking their back a little bit. It is not ideal. Another movement fault that you'll often see is people, what we say, squatting the kettlebell instead of hinging. So it's gonna be, instead of a back and forward motion, you're gonna see a down and up position, which is what you're gonna see right now, where people kind of go down and then up, down, and then up. And what ends up happening is you can see my butt goes down, and instead of working on my hamstrings and my glutes, it addresses my quads, sometimes gets my shoulders engaged, especially as I start to get tired, or even putting a lot of pressure on my back. The third fault that you'll also see is people using their arms a little too aggressively, and they're not using their hips. So it's gonna be something like this, where they take the kettlebell, they get into the hinge, but then they just use their arms, and they might not even fully open and extend at their hips. You're gonna start to notice that bell starts to move a little bit slower, and their shoulders are gonna get really burned out. And then the last part is actually having that kettlebell too far away from you, which is gonna actually really have a huge impact when it comes to your position. So you know how when I was showing you the kettlebell swing from this area, my hands were really, really close to my hip. That actually allows me to shorten that arc of motion, expressing my power a little bit more. What I see a lot of people do with this is when there is too much room between their hands and their hips, this is what ends up happening, is that they swing and it ends up pulling their torsos all the way down to the floor, and it actually increases their likelihood of hurting their back. So this is not a desired position. So how do we remedy that? There are a couple different drills. One drill that I'm a huge fan of is actually doing what is called the kettlebell hike. Now, before actually doing the kettlebell swing, I like to set a benchmark. Your goal is to actually be able to lift about 70 pounds off the floor in a good position when it comes to a kettlebell deadlift. So if you're able to drive your hips back and actually stand up all the way with 70 pounds, you have the requisite strength and also the requisite movement competency, so then that way you can effectively do, say, a kettlebell swing. So once you've met that prerequisite, the next thing that you're gonna do is called the kettlebell hike, where you're gonna be a few inches away from your bell, you're gonna bend the knees, you're gonna push your butt back, you're gonna take that kettlebell, we're gonna hike it through the legs, but when we hike it through, we wanna make sure that those hands are close to the hip. So we're gonna hike that kettlebell through the legs, let the kettlebell come back down. Hike the kettlebell through the legs, come back down. As you can see, as I hike, my torso doesn't change and my hips are still back. This is supposed to simulate what it's like to feel those hamstrings get engaged and also being in that position. Once you do that a few times and you feel like your hamstrings are super mashed up, they're super warm, then you are ready for the kettlebell swing. You're gonna take that kettlebell, you're gonna hike it through, but then you're gonna squeeze your cheeks as tight as you can. Squeeze your cheeks and those hamstrings, and you're gonna end up feeling that kettlebell swing up to the level of your shoulders. Now, it is important to have a little bit of resistance during these swings too, so you can actually feel it. I find that if you use a kettlebell that is way too light, you won't feel the importance of the position. So go ahead and try that at home. It's a really helpful exercise when it comes to being able to recruit your hamstrings and your glutes in an explosive way, which leads to an improvement in a lot of different factors. If you're still having issues trying to figure out how this kettlebell works, I would say book a call with myself, book a call with another coach to actually have them walk you through the kettlebell swing, which is probably another one of the most important and powerful exercises that are out there. So go ahead and try that out, and I'll catch you later.